Hello everybody, this is Teah Woodward from Stamp with Teah, and I am here to show you a card that I designed for World Card Making Day. What a wonderful day we've had so far, and I am so excited to share with you a dry embossing technique that I chose to use in the design of my card. Do you see this little wood grain that we've got going on here? Well, this is the timber embossing folder, and I applied ink to the inside of this folder before I ran my paper through it. And that's how I got this texture, and I am going to show you how to do that. I also used a second texture over here just because I'm using these autumn leaves, and this greenery embossing folder really looks like a knit to me, kind of a sweater kind of look. So we've got the wood and we've got the sweater and we've got the autumn leaves, and I don't know, this just seems so appropriate to this time of the year for me. And then this is the inside of our card here. So we're saying with much gratitude, and then we have a matching envelope, and I'm going to show you all of this right now. So let's get started. To make this card, I'm using the bundle from the Gorgeous Leaves. I'm using the stamps and the dies. And then for the sentiment, I'm pulling from the Heartfelt Wishes, Much Gratitude. I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to jump right into showing you how to do the dry emboss technique. Now I'm going to put a white plastic behind this so that you can see it just a little bit more clear. So I experimented with applying ink to both sides of this to see what it would look like if I applied the ink to this side and then applied ink to this side, and checked out both. And I decided that I really preferred it applied to this side here. So I'm going to take my soft suede ink, and I'll go over the colors of the cardstock in just a minute. So my soft suede ink, and I am going to just start applying my ink all over this side. And this washes right off with water. You don't even need soap. And I've done this a few times now, so my ink pad is getting just a little bit dry, but I was worried about getting it too inky before this presentation too, so I did not re-ink it. So that's why you saw me do it so many times just now. All right, so I've applied my ink. Now, if I apply my paper, which is sitting right over here, if I apply it directly to this and then it shifts, that ink is going to get kind of messy and I'm going to lose my definition. So I'm actually going to apply my paper over here and flip this over like that. And then I'm going to hang on to this while I bring my cut and emboss machine over. See if I can do this without it making a big snapping noise that it likes to make. Now with this 3D embossing folder, we just need plate number 1. Let's see if I can get this in the camera a little bit better. Plate number 1 and plate number 4. You want to put your embossing folder with the rounded folded edge to go through first. It just kind of makes it so that there's not as much of a hiccup. The other end is a bit more blunt and is not quite as smooth. That rounded edge allows for that to be a little bit more smooth. We're going to take that big snap all the way through. And now we're going to open this up. And look at that wood grain that we just created. Isn't that beautiful? And how easy was that? Later on, I'll take this to the sink and I'll just rinse off that extra ink, but there's not a lot of extra on there. Oh boy. Evidently the Mariners just scored a point and my husband's going berserk in the other room. If you can hear that on camera, I am so sorry. But my husband's really excited. It's a big game. All right. Next, I will show you our color palette. Well, you saw it here in this here. I guess I can just show it to you this way. So our background is crumb cake. Our matte layer is Cajun Craze. This wood grain, I have chosen to use soft suede and soft suede ink on it. I'm using the copper heat embossing on the front here. I've pre-done that so you don't have to watch me sit there with the heat tool. I thought this was more important to show you how to do this dry embossing here. I've used a second folder for this sweater knit, and then this is the crumb cake, and then I've used the brushed metallic gems. On the inside, this is our Very Vanilla with our Cajun Craze, and then a Very Vanilla envelope. All right, let's set that to one side. We are going to start by burnishing our cardstock. So I've already scored it. This was 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored at 5 1/2. Gonna get that nice and even on the edges, and grab my bone folder. There we go. And there we go. Got a nice edge. I feel good about that. All right. So I am actually set that to one side. We're going to start with our card front. And I'm standing, and I'm now going to sit and hopefully keep my head out of the camera. Really hoping that I'm keeping this so that you can see. Yep, I am. So I like to use the Tombow glue. I like to use the multi-purpose glue because it gives me just an extra second or two of wiggle room to apply something and get it on just straight. This piece of cardstock is 5 1/4 by 4. This is 3 7/8 by, I have it written down here, 3 7/8 by 4 1/8. So I got a little bit of glue right there, but I do have an eraser that I can take that off with. So basically I have 1/8 of an inch perimeter there. My little sweater knit is 1 by 3 7/8. I didn't want that Cajun Craze mat to jump out and be significantly large because the dies, the leaf dies, they're actually quite narrow, the detail is, and I didn't want see how small the details are in here? I didn't want the mat to overpower the details that are in those leaves. So I'm just going to, I'm butting up my sweater right up to the wood. Like that, I'm calling that my sweater, even though it's a greenery dye. But to me, it looks like a sweater, so there we go. That is our card front, and we are going to adhere that down. We're going to pop up that greeting with dimensionals, so I didn't feel like I needed to pop up this layer as well. I figured I have enough height with some of the details that I've got going on that this could be glued down. So I'm going to stand up again and make sure that I'm still within the frame so that you can see what I'm doing. And wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I've got that, I think that's pretty straight. Now we are going to place the sentiment. But before we place the sentiment, so this was 4 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. Then this is the copper heat embossing. And I want to put a little banner tag, banner tip on the end of this. So I am going to, cut it down. And I may cut it down twice because I had a bit of a I could go again. I think I'm going to go twice. There we go. There we go. I'm much closer to that embossing. See that there? So I am going to do that here, and I'm going to just go twice and then check it. I think I'm going to go a third. No, I might not go a third time. I think I'm going to keep it just like that. I don't want to overdo it and have to redo while we are filming. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to put 3, I'm going to take this and put it away. I'm going to grab my dimensionals and put 3, 1 in the center and 1 on each end. I'm using the bigger ones, mostly for speed. And you'll notice on my sample that I'm not exactly in the center. I'm just overlapping here a little bit and backed off from this edge a little bit because I have my foliage design that's kind of going to offset everything. So I am going to do something just like that. And that's a little crooked, so I hope I didn't press too hard. I didn't. Straighten it out. And it's one of those that's going to look crooked no matter what. No, there we go. That looks pretty good. All right, get those dimensional backs out of the way. So now we are going to apply these leaves. And I'm going to start with the Cajun Craze. I'm going to use mini glue dots. There is a thicker spot here in the middle of this leaf, so that's where I'm placing the mini glue dot so that it hides real well. And then I want to make sure that this leaf comes up pretty high on the card because I want this color to show. I don't want to accidentally hide it. And I'll show you why I'm saying that. I actually made another card earlier tonight, and I got everything kind of clustered kind of tight, and you kind of lose the definition and you kind of lose the beautiful color. So on this one you can see that I spread it out a little bit more and it's much more attractive. So that's what I'm doing. So the first one is on. The second one will be the copper leaf, again with the mini glue dot behind that heavy spot that's in the center of the back of the leaf. And I like the tip, the edge of the leaf to kind of hang over here, but I want to be careful not to go off too far off the back end of the card. And I can just press that down. So now both of these are very, very secure in place. Now this one's going to sit just a little bit lower, and I'm going to need to take off a little bit of this stem. Again, the mini glue dot behind the heavy spot in the design. And something about like that. I don't want to cover up my greeting, but something, let's see, something about like that. I'm going to glue that down, and it's very well in place. It's not going anywhere. So now I can add my gems. I like to use the Pick Me tool, the clay end. I like to use that to pick up my gems. Any of the colors that are in these gems would look great on this card. But because I've gone with the copper in the heat embossing here, and I've gone with the copper foil here, I'm going to go with this rose gold that's in the center. I'm going to apply the first big dot here, the second big dot. Did that flip on me? Okay, I'll fix that with the other tip of my tool. So I could put that here or here. Every card's going to be slightly different. Then I'm going to grab one of the smaller gems. Oops. And it tried to jump off. And I'm going to put that right about there. So that's the front of our card. Now let's decorate the inside of our card. I did already stamp the inside. So now I just need to adhere this to the mat. And push this out of the way and push that up so that I'm back in frame. Here we go. And this is 4 by 5 1/4, and the Very Vanilla is just 1/8 of an inch smaller in both directions, so that we just have that 1/16 of an inch of pop of color all the way around. I stamped with the Cajun Craze, just one maple leaf there in the corner. We're going to adhere this down. And, oh boy, I got a little messy on that, huh? Looks a little elementary school there. Okay. All right, we now have our card assembled. Let's do an envelope together. I like to stamp on my piercing mat. We're going to use Cajun Craze. So we're going to match the inside of our envelope on the outside, or the inside of our card on the outside of our envelope. I'm going to grab the maple leaf. Going to locate my stamp block. Here we go. And just a little bit of ink. Got some good coverage there. Directly down and up. And there we go. Set that aside. Close up my ink because I am one messy girl. And there we go. Here is the card we just made. What do you think? Do you like it? And then here's the sample. Friends, I am so grateful to have been able to spend this time with you this evening, and I hope that you will give this card a try, especially the dry embossing technique. You can use that with any number of textures. In this case, the wood grain worked perfect for me. I, again, thank you for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful World Card Making Day and that you are inspired, and please remember to send those cards out. Thank you for joining me. Hugs.